What can you expect as a beginner tank of World of Warcraft as you consider moving on from the basic normal difficulty dungeons to harder content such as heroics, mythics and perhaps even raiding? In this video I will tell you what I think you need to know, and while I never pretended to be a hardcore expert tank who regularly pushes Mythic plus 20 keys, I know my stuff, and this is exactly what has kept my content more appealing to beginners of WoW who are usually left behind to fend for themselves by the majority of other content creators. So if you like the content that I produce, please don't be shy and give me a like and subscribe for more, while we keep talking about what you should expect and what to do about it. So firstly, let's be very clear that if you're a beginner of tanking in WoW or haven't tanked for years, like a bit rusty and returning to Dragonflight right now, as we are all getting this new bunch of dungeons thrown at us in the new expansion, so do us all a favor and start in normal difficulty of the dungeons. Sure, normals are easy, half of boss mechanics you'll never see possibly because your group DPS will often blast the boss before they get to phase 2 or anything fancy, but you will still learn your way around the dungeon, which counts for a lot, get better at mob positioning hopefully, and skipping optional trash packs rather than pulling everything. Nobody likes that. And in higher difficulties, you pulling everything will just annoy people. So learn on easy content is my first advice to you. To learn, start by watching my series of easy tanking walkthroughs through all 8 Dragonflight dungeons. They are on my channel. Do yourself a favor, go search, you're welcome. Secondly, do not learn from those reckless hero tanks who charge ahead and pull literally everything because they perhaps can survive. They also often give their, in quotes, expert advice to slow and steady tanks to pull, go. Don't do that. Go at your own pace and watch your group, most importantly. Is your DPS keeping up, mowing down the first couple of trash packs that you have pulled? Is the health of the group dropping unpredictably? No? Okay, try pulling a little bit more next time. I am one of those caring, I suppose, and slightly slower tanks, but I also hate when people go for the opposite extreme and dilly-dally walking slower than your grandma, then stopping 20 meters away from the target, thinking about what to do with their life for 10 seconds and then throwing something at a caster mob, seeing if they're gonna run to you. It's excruciating to see. And such easy and basic thing to learn how to handle in normal dungeons that you should be almost a pro with this in heroics and higher. So what I'm saying is that there is a balance of healthy pace, tanking pace. Don't pull the whole instance straight up just to find out that your DPS cannot kill them fast and cannot do more than, say, I don't know, 3k of DPS per person in heroic difficulty, and your healer just went all grey from stress of trying to keep people alive. Don't be either that or the slow tortoise of a tank who even I want to kick in the back and start pulling trash for, which, by the way, is the behavior that I absolutely hate that people exhibit, and when they do it to me, when I'm a tank and I'm doing okay with my old pulls, thank you very much. Third point is another obvious one. Enemy health will increase in higher difficulties, their damage will go up, and so needs to be your own item level as a tank and DPS level of the group. I will put it very bluntly to you here. If you walk into something that is considered to be a harder dungeon, such as Brackenhide, hollow heroic, let's say, dungeon, we're not talking normal here, with a random pickup group, all in greens, on a tanking class that you're still not very confident about, say, I don't know, Brewmaster Monk, something relatively complex, yeah, and you see also a rather low DPS on your damage meter. Did I tell you that damage meter add-ons are useful to a tank? Like even more so useful perhaps to a tank than to a DPS? Well, install Details add-on from curseforge.com and thank me later by liking the video. So, if you see this kind of situation, then you might, I'm gonna say, might have a legit consideration, don't hate me, I'm just being practical, leaving the group, taking the time penalty, switching to a different alt if you have one for 30 minutes, and then queuing up again for a different dungeon. As if you stay, and try and deal with these people who shouldn't really, to be honest with you, be in the heroic or whatever the difficulty of the dungeon it is, perhaps lower mythic keys, if you stay, you will be only frustrated and will still be clearing the area around the first boss of Brackenhide Hollow by the time that 30 minutes penalty timer is over. Trust me. Haters gonna hate, I'm just telling you the truth, man. So what DPS the group should do for you to feel okay in heroics then, you would ask me? Well, it depends on many factors, but you came here for an advice, so I'm gonna give you one. I would say that on average, and when using details, damage meter add-on, as all of them are slightly different, and in my experience with Dragonflight tanking so far, each member of your group, including yourself as a tank and excluding your healer, should do between 15 and 20,000 DPS on AoE pools, obviously, and of course it depends on how many you pull in the AoE pool, let's say between 4 and 5 targets, in a heroic dungeon, so that your run continues going smoothly and without too much, sense of wasting time. About that. Because mythics are harder and each key adds additional kind of plus enemy health and plus damage output, that's where further attempt to project a reasonable DPS level, kind of expected DPS level, to persevere and keep pushing with the dungeon would be very speculative. So I'm not going to do that. But I hope that this sort of very finger in the air baseline is going to help you, especially if you're really new to this. Next point is going to be good news, because on average, as you graduate from normals into heroic dungeons and above, you can expect higher damage output and skill level, and sometimes irrationally highly geared players queuing for heroic dungeons and lower mythic keys. This is very good news for you as a tank, because believe it or not, while you're the shield of the group and while you need to be sturdy and a lot does depend on you, you can actually get away with much lower item level than the rest of your group, especially DPS. Of course, you can't be in heroic level gear queuing for mid-level kind of mythic keys, kind of towards 10 plus 10, unless you are with a big EP and friendly guildies group that will carry you basically. But anything goes in those groups, so we won't talk about them, because what's the point? We are just average Joes and Janes dealing with random pickup groups and need to establish a modest baseline for everyone, not exceptions. So yes, on average your heroic group performance will be higher and skill will be higher. So that, puts it kind of front and center that what you bring to the table as a tank is just already knowing the path through the dungeon. Check out my normal tanking dungeon walkthroughs if you haven't already, they will help you. Being situationally aware as a tank, and that's about it. So when I say situationally aware, what kind of things? Well, look out for like basic tanking 101 things. Is it a caster? Either then get their attention and break line of sight so that they run to you, or pull the whole trash group of melee mobs to them and tank on top of them while interrupting. This rule is like 90% of bread and butter of the whole tanking 101 in WoW, other than maybe a couple of extra points making up the remaining 10%, which are know where you're going and leading your group, and don't stand in the bloody fire yourselves. Finally, while you might and inevitably have picked up some bad habits such as ignoring or simply not seeing some of the boss mechanics from normal dungeons, please understand that on higher difficulties, those mechanics may one-shot you. Things like Hailstorm spell on the third boss in Halls of Infusion dungeon, where you need to hide behind icy pillars when the boss casts Hailstorm. You could have ignored it and absorbed the damage as a tank in normal, I have done it in the past, but in heroics and above it will kill you, most likely. And a bonus point to wrap it all up, my friends. The easiest content to tank in WoW has always been, no, not normal dungeons, LFR, looking for raid. While the raid is often full of idiots, you also don't need to do as much as a tank. Just install Deadly Boss Mods add-on. That is, in my opinion, a requirement, especially if you're new. Read the prompts of DBM during the boss fights. It's a very, very good add-on. It will tell you what to do. which is the only important part. And then run forward. That's about it. That's about all you need to do in LFR. This has very, very few exceptions where boss mechanics are more intricate, such as where, I don't know, we needed to run away from the boss and target the boss at a column so that they stun themselves in Castle Nathria of Shadowlands. But those are usually exceptions rather than a rule, because in that thing, it was personal responsibility, and if you didn't know what to do, it was a wipe. So if you are, at the end of all this looking for literally the easiest content to tank, have a bit of fun and get a little bit of gear from, queue up for the Vault of Incarnates LFR raid, first LFR of Dragonflight, opening this week, and be happy. I hope that this video helped you with a few practical, beginner-friendly tips, and I hope you will get a little bit more confident about what you do as a tank in Dragonflight, and learned a little bit of how not to be a nuisance to your random groups and raids. If you liked my video, please spare a moment and actually literally like it. Give me a thumbs up on YouTube so that the algorithm knows that you enjoyed it and it shows it to more people. And subscribe for more similar guides from me. Yes, we will be reviewing every boss in the Vault of Incarnates next, especially if there is interest among my audience, and let me know in the comments as always if you are interested to learn more, and at the very least give the video a like. That is also giving me a bit of a hint that I'm doing something right. Thank you very much for watching. I will talk to you next time.